Welcome to Your Music Saved Us, where two friends blast ourselves into the past to relive and recontextualize the alternative Christian music we grew up listening to in the 1990s.
Well, I used to be a young kid, a really dumb kid, racing bikes around the block for the neighborhood props in Wyoming.
But, stop the music.
Was
We got something special going on today. We have an interview with Ed Lamoso, the guitarist for Dear Ephesus.
mailbox, she made me mad, so she'll have to pay. You will never see me on West Main Street, the cat that you see, and you won't see me. You will never find me on West Main Street, living in North Stairs on West Beach.
Ed, did you share the our episode on the Dear Ephesus Facebook, or
I
was that
did.
someone else?
I did.
Okay. So that was
Yeah.
you who made the comment. Lots of love, interesting analysis, valid questions and critiques. A little heavy on the evangelical context, but not entirely wrong.
Yes, which we can talk about if you want. But ultimately, you guys were pretty right on. I mean, you were basically reading the stuff that we wrote,
Right? Yeah.
So it's all fair. But I think I have some insight into those
Cool.
analyses that we made ourselves. But I digress.
All right. Yeah. It was. I will say it was. That was probably the episode that we've done where we had the most insight into any band, because most bands have not written anything about what they were going through at the time. And I mean that you guys had the Aaron's little comments about the lyrics at the time, and then the write-ups from the band camp. That was
Very
great to
helpful.
have.
Yeah.
That was all me.
Nice.
That's all
Cool.
me.
Cool.
I'm
Good deal.
the anthropologist for Dear Ephesus.
Okay, good to know. I guess we should do introductions first here. So we are here with Dear Ephesus's guitarist Ed Lamoso. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Am I saying that correct?
That's
okay,
right.
cool. I think I said it wrong in the episode. I think I said Lamosa. Yeah,
Probably.
Oh well. Okay.
You're not, I hear that all the time. It's fine. No one gets it right.
All right. Did you also do the Dear Ephesus playlist on Facebook?
Yeah, the hashtag, that was me.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
and clearly not an exhaustive list because there was a lot more, but
Sure.
I figured, okay, people, who cares?
I thought
like,
it was
all right.
great.
All right.
I thoroughly enjoyed going back through it.
It was just like a little snap into just random stuff that played in the van at any given point,
Yeah.
or in our houses, or when we would hang out.
Oh, cool. No, I really enjoyed going through it and reading all the comments and context and everything. It was a lot of fun,
Good.
and it was a lot of things we were listening to back in the day
Yeah.
as well. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. I guess we should start somewhere. Do you mind talking about a little bit about your current state of faith?
Yeah, just
I'm
jump right in
Catholic.
there, Clifton.
You're Catholic.
I
Ooh,
am
nice.
Roman Catholic. Yes.
Okay.
But I can tell you that I don't, and I wanted to ask you about this with just all
Yeah.
your different analysis, like all the recovering evangelicals that you've met. Like I am straight up. I grew up in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
My grandparents were Catholic. At least nominally Catholic, but I was baptized and all that, and I ended up going to a Catholic school. But my mom was kind of a fallen away Catholic, or in a rebellious state. So to be honest, most of my experience, childhood, through teenage and adulthood, was Protestant. So I was a Protestant kid in Catholic school, and I would, kind of a little bit anti-Catholic even. I was like making fun of them, and I was, disrespectful and immature and all that. But I drank the Protestant Kool-Aid, and I went to many different churches, like Presbyterian, Methodist, like a lot of non-denominational ones. So
Mhm.
when Dear Ephesus started, I was in a non-denominational church, and that's part of the story there, I guess, as well. And I can tell you that during Dear Ephesus, everybody in the band tried to be as good a Christian. Like we were trying to be honest, even if
Yeah.
we even if mistakes were made, even if things happened because we were, five young dudes on the road. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of like crazy stuff, nothing extreme, but we really honestly tried. And Dear Ephesus, like Aaron was one to, he preached from the stage a lot, not all the time, but he had no problem
Right.
being outspoken about our faith at the time. So, when it ended, I remember you guys reading about Marty, my feud with Marty uh, online, and he kept calling me future Pastor Ed, which I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. But that was right. I eventually did became ordained. My church joined this
Okay.
sacramental type church, like liturgical, I should say. It was a charismatic
Mhm.
Episcopal church. It's like a splinter of a splinter of a splinter, like that. That's
Yeah.
how so many churches form. And but I went through my crisis of faith. I went through just everyday life. I don't know. Every things were just different. I was depressed all the time, and I was the worship leader for a while. But I remember just having like this depression, like every Sunday I was depressed.
Mm.
But and I think I got tired of the mental gymnastics that I had to do to reconcile, things in the Bible that didn't make sense to me, and also that cultish mentality, like the pastors having that power.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and my pastors were cool. I knew them, but there was a little bit of a, you know, um, just dysfunctional type relationship. I think with the people in the church a little bit. It was weird.
Yeah.
I mean, without getting into too much detail, I'm already going on too long about this. But just yeah, they. I think the more I I don't know, I kind of got sour on it. And to be honest, like just thinking about the whole church experience, like I kept thinking like when I would go to church and I'd be like, this is so retro to me now. Like what year are we in? Like this feels like 20 years ago, and the church is like exactly the same.
Mhm.
That type of dynamic with the worship and all that, and everything was just kind of disappointing to me. And I'm being very general, I understand, but basically, I don't know, somehow through me seeking, I allowed myself to also, consider, okay, could I, this is over an extended period of time. It's not like one day I woke up and decided, can I be an atheist? But I started to consider that, and then I'm like, well, I don't know if I can stop believing altogether. I don't know if I can get there. Can I just be agnostic then? Can I believe in God but not, just believe that there is a God or whatever? And can you guys hear me okay?
At this point, we started to have some internet problems, but we got it fixed pretty soon.
Basically, where I landed, I did started thinking more about. I mean, there were a couple of things. Aaron, our singer, he ended up also becoming Catholic.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand. I'm like, why that choice?
Mhm.
And so, but I did my own research, I guess, and I kind of felt like, um, I mean, to oversimplify it, I kind of felt like, okay, it felt like the option to me that made the most sense, historically, in continuity.
Mm.
And it seems like the more humanistic to me approach to Christianity. Like it seems like it's one that, I think that everyone, no matter what you believe, should be convinced that what they think is right. Not that everyone should think what you think, or not proselytize, but that you're at least convinced of your belief. I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
I know why. Whatever. I know why I believe what I believe.
Yeah.
So without being, without proselytizing, I kind of felt like, okay, to me, this is kind of how, how it's the only way that it makes sense to me, that Christianity makes sense. So even believing that what I believe is true, to me, it's also, I can live in harmony with people believing different things. I don't require the world to believe what I believe. We can respect each other. There's space for different opinions and all that. Martin Luther aside, there's space for people to not necessarily be completely, like, again, not requiring everybody to believe the same thing, but we can exist. And I mean, that's the long short of it for me. So that's kind of where I'm at today.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So you said you did spend some time in the Protestant churches in your youth. Did you grow up? Were you in youth group in your teen years?
Yes, several.
Okay.
Several.
And is that
a lot of them?
You said the Dear Ephesus guys were kind of at a non-denominational church. Is that kind of where you met most of the people in the band, through church?
Yeah. So Brett went to my church. His parents did. He did regularly for a while, but then he I think he would go with his friends from his school mostly, but his parents always came to my church, so I was always, connected with him. Aaron was not a member, but he had a band, this rap group that he was in, and they played our youth group all the time.
Interesting.
So that's a little bit of how it started. Jeff went to a different church. Lou went to a different church. I met Lou at a Circle of Dust concert.
Wow.
In Cocoa Beach in a bar. That was a trip. That's where I met him for the first time, like maybe a year and a half or so before Dear Ephesus. But yeah, we were all church people.
Cool. How did you enjoy the maybe I should rephrase that. Has the youth group culture had a lasting effect on your life?
No. Well, yeah. Adversely, it's a sort of an adverse effect. I was disillusioned with it.
Yeah.
Early on, I mean, I tried to belong. That was the thing. Like I was trying hard to do the right thing, even if I couldn't reconcile everything. So, like I remember when the huge thing was, preparing for marriage. It seemed like your whole youth group experience was preparing to meet the person for you. That was such a huge focus, and that kiss dating goodbye thing, and that was like a movement. Like I think I was a little, older already by then, but like I was like late teens already. But that so that mentality was kind of weird to me. And the kids, there were some kids that really, I think, bought into Christianity that way, but most of the time, no, not really.
Yeah.
Everybody was just kind of there to hang out, and I don't know, so that the parents they could be somewhere where the parents knew where they were, but then everybody would leave and go to somebody's house and do whatever, so I never bought into it being like a vehicle of holiness for people. Maybe it kept people out of trouble, but nah.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. Some people.
Right.
Yeah.
It was at least an organized activity, right?
Right. They're at church, but they're with everybody, and then, the cliques form and all that. My last one, where I attended when Dear Ephesus started happening, that was all right. I think everybody was honest about where they were. People were trying to be a Christian, but for the most part, really, it was just to hang out, and everybody got along, and there were a lot of musicians, so that was kind of fun.
That's cool.
That was part of Brett and I's connection too. I was playing bass. And he was like, "Oh wow, you know how to play Metallica?" Like, "Oh yeah, cool." that was that. But I don't think the youth group, in culture in particular, was, didn't really help me
No, that's been our experience talking to everyone too. Is that it was it was nice it was a nice place to meet people and organize activity, but especially that purity culture thing was really
Yeah.
really rough on people.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, it's taking a toll. So that what led you to what interested you in learning guitar as a kid?
I love music.
Yeah.
I think part of it, my dad, had mentioned when I was young that he had been in a band,
Oh, cool.
so that kind of, maybe me wanting to be cool like my dad or something like that. But I really got into music early, like just singing along and air drumming and whatever. And the first instrument that I owned was actually a set of drums. That was
Oh, cool.
my first official instrument. And so, I was jamming metal. That was my thing. I was a little metalhead. And then a friend of mine in high school like got these guitar chord charts,
Yeah.
and so I borrowed a guitar from a friend, and I learned how to do that. And then and I guess in between I bought a bass too and learned how to play bass a little bit, and I was like playing Dr. Feelgood, and that was like that was one of the first songs I learned. But yeah, it was just kind of I liked everything. I think I wanted to play guitar, but I was intimidated by the shredding because that's all I heard.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. So I had a basic understanding of drums, so I did that instead, and then bass. Because I did want to play that. But yeah, that's kind of
Mhm.
how that
You-
happened.
You must have had very patient parents especially to put up with the drums thing.
Yeah, and I actually had them assembled in my bedroom. So there was like you had to like climb on my bed to get to the other side of my room. But I was pretty good. Like I played, maybe during the day, if, on a weekend or something like that. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't too disruptive, I don't think.
Okay, cool.
So Ed, kind of take us. When you guys were starting to bring Dear Ephesus together? I mean, you told me Aaron was in a rap group. Like, how did you guys kind of settle on a sound? And I mean, maybe what music were you listening to at the time? Like, how did you guys decide this is going to be Dear Ephesus?
Well, okay, so Aaron was in the rap group. He had joined them. They were already a local rap group that were called DDC, and they have if you Google them, they have a record called "Plate Full of Funk."
Yeah,
I gotta look at this.
It's actually pretty good. I think it's pretty good. I think they might say different, but just to give you the bottom line, I think it was like a House of Pain, Cypress Hill type, hip hop. That was sort of the approach. And Aaron met them at some point, and so he joined. He moved from California to Florida to do it.
Oh wow, okay.
So they started. I think they started to wanting to put a band together for them, like live musicians. And the first thing they got was a drummer. Are you playing it, Clifton, or?
You want me to? I can.
Go ahead if you want to.
A phrase, and I start to gaze into the plate in front of me, and my mind reactions all I see. So I disperse an abstract verse. Let's all down hip hop realism, always down for criticism, work for the plate on a course. Thinking truth, what I got down with sauce. Dropping the modern day parable. This day and age is terrible. Spiritual hunger, I'm ready up front. God's my high, I don't need no blunt. Pump my joint in your trunk. Get in line and grab a plate full of funk.
That's Jeff. That was their main guy. I think Aaron recorded maybe like two songs on this. When he joined, I think he got to like add his flavor on like maybe two of those songs, but they weren't bad. So they started getting musicians. They got a drummer. first, who was a guy I knew. I had played with him too, and so they would play these tracks and play the drums and rap and do their thing. But I had heard that they were trying to put a band together, and I got a feeling maybe somebody told me like, "Hey, I think they're gonna ask you to play with them," and I'd be like, "Oh, all right." And they came on a youth group night, and they were doing their thing, and Aaron asked me, I don't know that I had even talked to Aaron that much before that point, and but he just, that's Aaron. He's the networker, like that's what he does. So he actually came to me and asked me, "Hey Ed, what do you think about, maybe, playing with us or something like that?" I'm like, "Let's give it a try. It sounds like fun." So Aaron was kind of like my point guy, with them, and so he wanted to write music, so we started writing music. I think I, you know, did like a couple of tracks for them. Like I recorded 2 songs that didn't make it on, after that record. It was just kind of like grungy. That's what it sounded like. It was like a grunge, heavy drop D kind of, riffs or whatever. And I actually have them on cassette somewhere. But I think as we were like trying to workshop that stuff, we also started writing other stuff like kind of folky. Um, we just started writing. My my guess is, something that sounded kind of 90s to me. I think,
Right.
like the early stuff was kind of 90s sounding, like a Bush type deal, something like that, a little grungy. And they, because they wanted to incorporate singing, they wanted to do something new with that band. So that's how Dear Ephesus sort of started that way. But as we were trying new songs, Aaron kind of got the idea to like try them out at a open mic. And so we went to there was this place in Orlando called Yab Yums, Yabyum, which at the time in the mid '90s, it was awesome spot. A lot of people like touring artists played there. Like I remember Jewel actually played there before Who Will Save Your Soul came out. Like she
Oh
actually
wow.
performed there, and it would be, it's a very small place, very small stage, so it would be largely like acoustic or jazzy or stuff like that. But they had open mic. We went and we started playing these songs, and so I think at some point, we okay, and somewhere during this, um, I had met Lou, and then Aaron met Lou, and Lou and Jimmy. That Jimmy, who is he was Squad 50's like manager, and now he's managing. He's doing pretty well for himself. But they were like a duo, Lou and Jimmy. So he met them, and Lou played bass, so he kind of approached him about that, and I think Lou actually joined DDC. We played a show. We opened up for T-Bone. You guys
Oh,
ever hear about
yeah. Oh,
T-Bone?
I
Like
remember
so,
T-Bone.
T-Bone played in Orlando. This club called The Edge, which was a huge one. Like Nine Inch Nails played. It was a big club, and T-Bone, played, and DDC opened up, and so we did our thing. Like they basically had some songs where they played with the track, and then the band would come on and play like a couple songs and just go back and forth. And so that was Lou and I, and the drummer at the time. I think Aaron wanted to have a name for the acoustic stuff, and he tried a few. One of them was like Donkeys of Meekness or something like that. And because they were even thinking about changing the name of their rap group, but um, I don't remember I don't remember when the decision was made to just do this. Maybe DDC didn't want to keep going, but Aaron wanted to, so it turned into a thing, into its own thing. And for at least once, it was just Lou, Aaron, and I, and the drummer at the time, and then eventually it grew from there. But um, it basically it was workshopping songs, potential songs for a rap group that got Dear Ephesus started. And it was, I would say that it was closer to a 90s sound. And then as it evolved, I think Aaron had some friends that were like into Uncle Tupelo and Sunny Day Real Estate
Mm-hmm.
and all that. And I think Mineral started to, become known. So
Mm-hmm.
somewhere along those lines, we and also we met John Ralston, who was the biggest Sunny Day Real Estate fan, at the
Mm-hmm.
time. He's way more faceted than that, but that was the connection.
Yeah.
And so it was like a lot of indie rock. So, when Brett joined, he kind of brought in that the thicker guitar with the Smashing Pumpkins vibe, and whatnot. So it just, yeah, a lot happened in a very short amount of time, because
Hmm.
I think that DDC show happened in 1996, and by that time Dear
Wow.
Ephesus was already, sort of had started.
Mm-hmm.
Like we recorded the first EP in November of 96.
Right.
So, and we got busy too. Like we played a lot like at some point we started playing a lot of youth groups. And like they kept calling us like every week. We would play some youth group or whatever. There was this other venue in Orlando called Club Alpha, which was like the Christian show, the Christian rock show venue. It was actually pretty cool, because there were a lot of like local punk bands, and it was kind of neat actually, hardcore, and um, we played that a lot. So kind of evolved. It evolved along with everybody's friendships, and but yeah, it was a very short amount of time. Like things happened kind of fast
Yeah.
once we got going, and I think Aaron had a lot to do with it too, because Aaron got on the phone with everybody. He was booking us shows. He was making contacts.
Right.
He would talk to labels or whatever. Like he really worked hard. Probably, probably harder than he should have. I don't know. He was spending a lot. He spent a lot of time doing it, but that's, he really got a lot done
Yeah.
for us for sure.
Yeah. He got a little obsessive there for a little while.
Yeah, but that's kind of, that's a little bit of him. Like
Yeah.
when he commits himself to a philosophy or something, like he's definitely gung ho for it.
We'll go. How old were you at this time?
23,
Okay. Cool.
20, 22, 22, 23. Yeah, that year.
So Aaron stalked Nick Barber,
Yes.
and somehow got him to agree to. Did he come to you guys, or did you go out to Oregon to
He
record
came
that
to
affair?
us, but
Okay.
yeah, I can't remember. I know we all like Poor Lou.
Hmm.
We were fans of Poor Lou. At least, most of us were. And that was one of the few Christian bands that we respected.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, he looked him up on a. I think he may have called information. I mean, this is
Yeah.
pre-internet, So I
Yeah.
think he would have called information or something like that. And got his number. He found it somehow and called him,
Okay.
and had to convince him not to hang up the phone, and and basically, just kind of say, listen, we're this band, blah blah blah, and Nick agreed to listen to it. So that was cool, and so
Yeah.
we ended up recording a rehearsal um at my old church. So we recorded a rehearsal on cassette, and we sent it to him. And I remember that one of the songs that we recorded, which is a place called Slumber, the verses were in a different key. The verse key is in D. We used to play it in C. And Lou really wanted, like, he snuck in this bass line, and which is the verse of that song, and he did it on purpose just so that Nick would hear it. And it's kind of funny because when we got to record, Nick was like, "Hey, what was that thing you sent me?" And so Lou totally pulled that off. But he listened to that rehearsal, and then at that time, Nick was on tour with Jeremy Enoch. Jeremy Enoch was supporting Return of the Frog Queen.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So this is like post Sunny Day, before the
Yeah.
reunion started. So he was doing that record, and Nick was playing bass. I think the drummer from Soul Food '76. Paul Mimo or something like that. He was the drummer, and he had like a little string section touring with him. So it was really good. But we got to meet Nick, and so we hung out a little bit. Then I think he flew down to maybe discuss. That's another thing that Aaron got us was financial backing. He actually got people to pay for this. So
Wow.
and the recording, the studio, the pressing, everything.
Yeah.
He raced it. He was our, he wasn't the executive producer, but he was, 100% the guy. And then Nick came, and for like 1 week he hung out, and I think we recorded in a week, and
Cool.
that was that. But yeah,
And he crushed your dreams into gold.
he did into gold dust. Yes, he that was kind of, it was awesome. It was hard, but
Yeah.
it was really like, I think the satisfaction that we had after was, relative to the anger that we felt. I mean, it was it was great. But he 100% like would just say, I don't like that. Like, no, that sucks. Play this instead. Like, and then he would direct us. There were some things. I think most of it really we kept. Most of the songs are pretty standard, but then he would just kind of layer or maybe change our tone or something like that. But yeah, he definitely challenges us, and I know that you read this, that when we went for the second record for Consolation, we were kind of
Right.
hoping, well, not hoping, but we were thinking maybe JC, like we were ready. Honestly, we were like, all right, we're gonna go in. This, this is how it's gonna be. Like, we know we're cool with it. We're open. I think that's how we felt. Like we're open. But no, he just kind of sat there and he smiled. He was super cool guy. JC was awesome.
Yeah.
He did not really push back on anything. Like, we would just do our song, and then he'd be like, "Did you like that? Okay, all right, good. Let's do the next one. Whatever. That was it." So yeah,
Well, maybe you had learned what you needed to with Nick, and
not enough. I think, to be honest, we like Consolation, I think, in general, but I think everybody has something to say about, at least how it sounded. We could have done a lot better for sure, but it is what it is.
I mean, I think I even said on the episode that I thought, it sounded like some people who knew what they wanted to do and knew how to do it, when they went to the studios. So
I remember that. Appreciate that.
So, of course. I mean, I mean, there are some things in there that do get muddy, and some guitars kind of step over each other. But overall, I think it kind of, I think there's something to be said between the right way to do things and then just things that sound good and feel good,
Right.
So I think it sounds good and feels good. So I don't have much to say about it.
Good. I think that we've had a lot of positive feedback from it, some negative feedback too, but I think that the people that have connected with it have connected with it. So, everybody's going to get a different reaction from a record. There are records from other artists that I love that don't sound the same to other people. So it is, it's part of the experience, I think. I'm fine with it now, I think. I don't cringe listening to it or anything like that.
How did you guys get associated with Bulletproof? Grey Dot.
Good. All right. So, we had a friend that was an intern at Grey Dot.
Okay.
And they also managed the Pterodactyl. That was like their club. It used to be the Strand before that, but this was a new place called the Pterodactyl. In the same business, in the same plaza. So we so she was interning there, and Plankai was coming. They had a show there, and she got us to open. We were supposed to open, so she, let them. I don't know what they heard. I think they said that it probably hurt more than it helped. I don't know what recording they heard. Probably an older demo or something like that. It was like straight up grunge. But we went. That was our first trip out there, and so Plankai got snowed in. Plankai couldn't make it, They were stuck because of snowstorm or something
wow.
like that. They couldn't make it. So there were some people there. I mean, it was supposed to be a plant guy show, so there was people there, and there was like some guys that I don't know why we even met them, but they were in a band. They were like Liberty students or something like that, and they all played and like we're in a band, and so we said, you guys want to play our instruments and open up, and we'll play after you. And so they did. It was kind of cool, I guess, how that worked
Yeah.
out. But we played a show, and I guess it was a good enough show and made some sort of impression. I think that opened the lines of communication between us and Marty and Dave. That was the beginning, and so it, over the next few months we would be talking. I think that Aaron used that as motivation to like reach out to other labels after that, and and I think that we came close to signing somewhere else too. But I think I don't know, we ended up landing with them. There was something about them that we all agreed, and we're like, yeah, sure, let's do Bulletproof. So, they actually, after that, they invited us to Nashville to I guess it's GMA week, right? It's like a Christian,
Yeah.
I think it's GMA week or something like that. I forget what it is, but a gospel music association,
Yeah.
and it's, it's like, a bunch of people, like executives in a hotel, pretending, I don't, that's just my takeaway, everybody's all business there, nobody cares. But they had their own showcase, and they put us in it before we were signed. So that was really neat. We met Squad 50 that weekend. That's when we met them for the first time. And yeah, other things happened. We met the POD guys there too. Sonny and his and the owner of Rescue Records, Bernard. What was his name? It's the drummer's dad. Anyway, they were there. They saw us there. Noah Bernardo or something like that. Yeah, that was it. What some stupid trivia, like there was a band on Grey Dot that played that night, and they were from Europe, and I forget their name. The something. They might be in the roster in the Wayback Machine that you guys look at. But they brought all these CDs with them from bands that they knew in Europe. One of them was Blindside.
Oh, wow.
And
nice.
that was the first time. So Brandon Evil got his Blindside CD from that batch that they brought. So I was there. Like, we got a Blindside CD. Brandon Evil got a Blindside CD. Like, that was the first time anybody in America heard them. At least from this particular group of people. So,
right.
Just a little bit of trivia there, but it didn't do anything for us. Doesn't matter.
No, but I mean, Grey Dot, Bulletproof had a pretty good roster back then. I mean, between Squad 5,
I think was built for them.
Squad 50, 121, Johnny Respect.
Oh, wow.
New
Jerusalem. Have you guys heard that?
No, I have not.
It's okay. It's actually really good, but it's like, metal.
Okay.
Like, high pitch, epic kind of metal.
Yeah. And, Luxury put out an album through them.
Yeah. So we were label mates for a second.
For me, I was, when I saw something come out on Grey Dot or Bulletproof, I typically listen to it,
Nice.
Oh, and then Loudflower. Did you ever meet those guys?
Yes. Yeah, I think they played that night. I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's another one of my favorite albums from
good.
Grey Dot.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's very different, obviously, but those guys are just good musicians,
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen them.
Cool. When was John Roston in the band? Was it around before or after the EP?
After the recording. We had met them. We had met him. And I left. Basically, I was gonna leave.
Okay.
That's what happened. I left.
I was wondering, were there 3 guitars at one point?
No. I'll tell you what. When we first started, one of the many evolutions of the versions of the band. I was a guitar player. Lou was playing bass, and then I got my friend. So I got my friend Chase, who is awesome on bass. He's the guy that, whatever, we name check him on the record. I got him to play guitar, and then I got Brett to play guitar, and so I taught them different parts. I said, okay, play this, and then play this, and we rehearsed, and then I showed up to play drums, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play drums. And I remember Lou looking at me like, this is weird, like, what are we doing? But then we played, and it sounded really good. so we played a couple of shows like that, but then I think, Chase was going to go back to school, so and at this point Aaron had been checking Jeff, because Jeff was awesome. Jeff is, one of the strengths of the band. So he'd been looking at him for a while. I think he was playing with Eric Champion. You remember hearing that, Eric Champion?
Oh wow, yeah, I do.
Just the name appearing,
Right.
he in magazines you would see him advertised or whatever. So Jeff was playing with him, and Aaron knew Eric Champion, so because I think he had also been a part of whatever he was doing. So Aaron got Jeff in, and so I moved back to guitar, and that was it. But at some point, I wanted to leave. I don't remember the exact reason. Probably one of those things where, like, what does God want me to do, kind of things. Like,
Right.
I'm always questioning. It's always something else than what I'm doing now. No matter what, that's what God wants me to do. Like, if I'm doing this, God wants me to do something else. But I think maybe something like that. And so they got John, and John came in. He moved in with Brett, and I think he was really in the band for like a total of like 3 months total. Something like that. But I recorded the EP, and I remember, like, John was in the band when the EP actually was, when they put it out, and Aaron put my name, like, like as a member, and I'm like, you didn't have to do that. He said, no, man, that's the band, So I'm like, okay, thank you, whatever. So they played a few shows. One of them was a 7-ball. 7-Ball Magazine did this, like, festival in Florida, and I think, like, the Insiders played that, and it was one of those things, like a lot of bigger bands, not like mega big, but, like, the big underground bands played that, and so that started a little buzz with Dear Ephesus with some bands, but then it didn't work out with John, like, just like 3 months really, I think, total, roundabout that. And but we were always friends, and so they asked me to come back, and I'm like, yeah, all right, let's do it. That was it. So it was short bleep, but during that time they wrote Butter Never Bleeds. They wrote I think Player Piano, he wrote part of that. What else? Portrait. He wrote part of Portrait. Yeah, I guess whatever it says in Bandcamp, I'm not sure. That he contributed to quite a bit, and I think it also started that the songs changed a little bit. I think and Brett's writing was a little different too at that point. It had evolved a little bit. But yeah, definitely a lasting effect for having been in the band a short time.
Cool. With you said you listened to the to our conversation with Dan,
Dan
from Johnny Q Public, and so one thing that came up in that I'd like to hear your experience with, was there any push by Grey Dot to have, like, more obvious Christian content in the music?
I think that stuff that you read, where we had an explanation for every song.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we were encouraged to do that.
Okay. Interesting.
I think that's part of the reason. Now, it doesn't mean that Aaron didn't mean that, because I'm pretty sure that Aaron wrote that. But I think if you read Dear Ephesus lyrics, it's all allegory. Mm-hmm. There is, like, I think Jesus is, like, in one song, the grand spectacle. I think creation's grandest spectacle is Jesus. Like that. I think that's the only time that I think. Maybe not, but it's all allegory. So if you go to a Dear Ephesus show, you may not get that it is a Christian band or whatever.
Hmm.
So not necessarily, until you hear Aaron speak. If Aaron feels like he should say something, then he might be more like, or at that time he would have been upfront. But I think and I know, like, going into the sometime Sunday story where they, somebody said pain in the ass, and that
That was the
that
end.
blackballed him. That's insane. Like in a bonus track at the end of the record,
Yeah.
which eventually when they pressed the record again, it didn't have none of that.
Right.
So, but I think that there was pressure. Now I don't think that Marty, they weren't, because they knew that we were Christians. So whether they cared or not, I think really it's about the business part of it. Really, I mean, that's the target audience. The retailers are Christian bookstores, number one. We're not listed. We weren't anywhere else, so we had to be that. So I think that those little explanations that we wrote, I think they were encouraged by the label. I can tell you that there was one show that we were touring with Elder, who was also in Bulletproof later. So they played. It was a youth group in a gymnasium in, like, I think New Jersey, big gymnasium, like a basketball court, indoor, whatever. We were gonna play, but the kids were like running around. Nobody was watching. Everybody was like running around doing the youth group thing, right? There was like some kids making out in the corner somewhere, right? And nobody was paying attention. They played their show, and Aaron said, "Don't be surprised if we don't play at all." And so Aaron got on stage and got everybody's attention. He told people to shut up and sit down, or and pay attention, and they did. And we didn't play at all. Like, Aaron
Wow.
just preached. He
Wow.
told, and when I say preach, like, he was talking to them, like, you guys,
Right.
talking about being disrespectful and all that, but that wasn't it. But like, he really gave them a message, basically, like, you guys need to hear this. It wasn't about getting them saved. I think it was just about, you guys are assholes, and here I'm gonna beat you with a Bible for a little bit, But so that night we left the show, and we heard that like the promoters were like really impressed with that. They they were like, you got that's so good, blah blah blah. They put us in hotels, like, for like an extra night and everything. It was I was like, wow, okay, great, thank you so much, whatever. We went to Danny's, and the drummer for Elder, he was kind of like ADD, like, he was he had a lot of energy, and he was like horsing around with bread, and he was like joking about biting his nipples or something like that. It was just like some really silly high school humor type thing.
Yeah.
And apparently somebody from the church was there. Next day, we're like hanging out in Philadelphia, just whatever, just hanging out, and we were told that we had to call the label. So we called them, and that somebody from the church saw, like, they said that something about homosexual tendencies or something like that.
Wow.
That is 100% true story. And so that became a little bit of a problem. Now that was a local problem.
Yeah.
So there weren't any rumors spreading around about that, but yeah, so pressure to show our faith a little. Yes, 100%.
Yeah. Was there any? Did you have any understanding of, like, of the way that I'll say that kids back home, in Texas and Ohio and whatnot, were kind of looked up to the bands they listened to as leaders, or I don't know. Was that did that weigh on you? Yeah,
like the role model thing.
Yeah.
I think yes. I think more at the beginning. And I think that as we went, and that's why I said at the beginning, like, we really tried to be honest about how we lived and all that, and we try to be honest about our faith. So we would try to maybe have a Bible study or something like that, or try to maybe pray together, every once in a while. Like, I don't think we were like really super religious, but we were definitely making an effort to be honest about that and mean it. So yeah, we were mindful of that. I think that, the more we played and the more bands we met, a different levels of success, we started understanding like, okay, this is sort of becoming our livelihood now.
Mhm.
There doesn't need to be a compromise there, but we have to. This is our job, and so how like who is a Christian plumber, who is a Christian carpenter,
Yeah.
who so if this is what we're gonna do, you should do everything the same way no matter what.
Yeah.
That's kind of how one of my I think one of my journeys in with the church, like getting to the end as being a worship leader, how I started understanding worship. Like,
Mm.
is worship, do I have to lift my hands and sing and speak in tongues, or like, is that the only worship, or is worship just how you live your life? Like, is it, if in other words, if you believe something, do you just act like it? You
Yeah.
honor your belief. In my case, you honor God or whatever, and how you conduct yourself. You don't rip people off, you're respectful, maybe you're charitable, whatever, something like that. So I think we started seeing Dear Ephesus in that light too. Just like, this is something that we have to treat as, with excellence. We want to do it well. What we do is not necessarily who we are.
Mhm.
So I think that was part of the journey. I think that as things progress, I think we were still figuring that out. I don't think that we ever completely figure it out,
No.
because we, no, like, I think up until the end, we still retain uh, that Christian element.
Yeah.
I think, but yeah, we definitely, more at the beginning for sure, and we did try to behave, so to speak.
Yeah. I think that's a very mature position to take. Especially so quickly in the industry.
Yeah,
A lot of bands struggle with that for a lot longer. I'll say.
yeah, and that, like, I was listening to that story about drinking wine in a cup. I mean, look, if you're into that, that's fine. But I
Yeah.
like, if I want to have a beer, I'm gonna have a beer. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, but the thing is, yeah, sure, like the label and the people promoting, they care because they have that target audience of like conservative,
Mhm.
Christians, thin skin apparently, like
Yeah.
anything can rock their world, like, oh, a beer. I'm like, shut up, you're having them now,
Yeah.
you know, but anyway, so yeah.
Well, cool.
So, your first album, official full-length album, comes out. And if I remember right, your next album is just like a year later. It's like, kind of take us from that first album coming out to the second one. Were you guys just touring nonstop? Like, what was that year like?
Yeah. um well, usually with the first album you have a little bit more time. Now, the first album came out, we recorded it in 97. We recorded the EP in 96. And then once I think right after that we signed with Bulletproof. And I think at that point we were already jamming some stuff. Like, we already had
Mhm.
some songs kind of ready. I think there may have been some like last minute additions, and that's why. Well, actually, I guess the songs that John Ralston co-wrote, all of that made it in there. So we have more songs ready. After that, so it came out. I think. Well, yeah, we recorded in the summer, and then the official release it was like in November 7th, something like that.
Yeah.
But in August, September, October, and November, we toured almost non. We had a 2-day break where
Wow.
we came home for the album release party and then hit the road again. And so I think it was something like we did like maybe 2 weeks with the Insiders, something like that. And then we would connect with Squad 50, and then Insiders again, and then Squad 50 again,
Wow.
and in between there'd be like off shows where we would play, like, POD was playing somewhere and we would just be added to that. um that was it. But it was brutal. It was
Yeah.
brutal. It was a lot of fun, but by the end, I remember, like, in the end, like, there was like snow crunching on the ground, like melted ice, and everything just felt like that. Like, ugh, this is the
Yeah.
worst. Like, I think, like, the last 2 weeks, like, people were sick, like physically sick, and everybody was tired. We were worn out. But yeah, so we December was a break. January we toured again for a month with Elder. We took a break, I think, in February, and then March, April, May, pretty sure, was the United tour, 3 months. So that was 3 months of tour straight. That was Squad 50, Johnny Respect, and then different bands from Great Up would join us, like Exeter Flood, who two of those guys joined Dear Ephesus later, and Travis and then Dave. So a lot of touring, and so for the second record, a lot of the songs were written on tour.
Okay.
Were you
and a big change in sound?
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, were you under pressure to get that second record out? Like, did they want it out that next year? Because that's pretty quick turnaround just to have, another album just a year later. Or did you guys have a choice in that?
I don't remember. I don't remember. Maybe, but I think that I think we were ready for it. I think that when we knew that we had to record it, I think we were kind of looking forward to it, like having that record. I don't think that we were feeling pressured. Like, maybe we were like really busy. But I think we were like, all right. I think maybe by that time we were sort of expecting it. I don't know if we were like used to the cadence, but we knew that we were busy all the time. So if we get home and we're exhausted and we get a call like, hey, we got something to do, we would just do it. We would just get up and do it. So I think we were looking forward to it. And then we, of course, decided to go back to the same studio. We did the EP and work with Joel, who engineered the EP. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of touring. Maybe that contributed a little to the short life of Dear Ephesus. I don't know. Not everybody, quits that quickly. But yeah, it was busy for sure.
I'm sure exhausting too.
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of memories. But definitely it was very heavy touring. I think maybe that's something that down the line we could have learned to space it out a little bit more, do legs, like let's do 3 weeks, take a break, maybe 3 more weeks, something like that. That's what bands tend to do. But at the time it was like get in the van and go. Yeah. Let's just drive the van to the ground. It broke down so many times. But yeah, it was, good time. We were at the right age, I guess, to do it.
Yeah. Where do all these shitty bands come from? That all these shitty vans come from? That all these bands are driving right around. Like
you gotta buy them cheap, I guess. You get that's really it. You probably get the unless someone's parent is rich, then otherwise, you get the deal you can find. The van that we had broke down on our first trip. We bought the van, we packed it up, we drove, and it broke down.
Wow.
That which is, I think, one of the things that Marty mentioned, like the loan that I gave you for the trip. Basically it broke down, and we didn't even. Somebody may have suggested, like, okay, I guess we got to go back. And Aaron said, no, man. Told Louis, like, call your mom or your dad. They have AAA. Let's like tow it too. Like, we drove hundreds of miles with the van in a flatbed truck. So yeah, I mean, that was the attitude. We had to make this happen somehow. Interesting. And we did.
Oh, cool. So after the Absent Sounds of Me, it seemed like Deep Elm might have been courting you guys. Were they coming knocking on the door?
No, maybe, but definitely, they were putting out those comps like
Hmm.
this is emo.
Yeah, the emo
Uh,
diaries. Yeah.
so I think that we had connected with someone at Deep Elm, or maybe one of their bands. Like we got on the radar somehow. I forget how. Somebody else might know in the band, but um, then so we were gonna put out a song. Uh,
Okay.
that's right. I don't remember because I know we changed managers. We had a couple of managers through the life of the band, so maybe that was the connection. But we were gonna do it, but the song that we submitted was too. They said it was too punk. Um, and I don't. It wasn't our best one. It
Yeah.
was a throwaway from the record. Like we recorded it, and but we're like, it doesn't fit on the record, so maybe we use it for this.
What
So
was it
that
from the Absent Sound of Me recordings?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
That's the Spider, which is it's in Bandcamp.
Okay. That's very interesting because I mean it's not like those emo diaries.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not like they were super tight to emo either. I mean they kind of got all over the place. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think so I don't know. Emo was another one of those terms that we danced around and struggled with.
Right.
Like do we have like what is emo, and are we emo? and okay, so so we know that we use a lot of octaves. That was like one of the signatures for emo, where just octaves.
Yeah.
And so we used a lot of that. And Aaron could be that, like he would do like certain inflections and embellishments with his voice that could be potentially that. But I think Absent Sounds to me is a lot more pop
Yeah.
than emo. It's not a
I
pop
agree.
record, but it's the sound is definitely cleaner.
Hmm.
And it's yeah, to me it's just more approachable. It's less
Yeah.
underground. We were really good friends with this band Log Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a Bandcamp too, and they're still one of my favorite. Like I still listen to Log Soul. Like I love Log Soul. And Log Soul met Dear Ephesus in St. Pete, in like this place called the Refuge, and so that's struck a friendship early on. And so I remember like apparently there had been a conversation between Luxel and Dear Ephesus, and we're like, okay, we're gonna take on the underground, we're gonna take this. But and then they said, but then you guys went pop, like what was that?
Yeah.
So
I mean
that's what happened.
it's just more of a straightforward kind of catchy rock and roll album. Yeah.
Yeah, there is some catchiness. There is a little bit of a conscious effort, I think, on the part of the musicians. I think we were writing what we were writing. I think
Yeah.
that I don't think that we were trying to make it pop, but Aaron, he basically became comfortable with that idea. He's like, you know what,
Yeah.
I like stuff that's pop, so I'm not going to reject it. If it's pop, it's pop. Let's
Yeah.
do it. I think that was
Okay.
really that was the extent of that. We were just not gonna shy away from it. If it sounded that way, let's do it. But I think the rest of us were just kind of writing what we normally would write. I think we were listening maybe a little bit different. Like I know that there were more Promise Ring influences in there, and definitely Jimmy Eat World. Static
Hmm.
Prevails.
Yeah.
In that first song, even though the notes kind of sound like Get Up Kids, but I wasn't listening to Get Up Kids. So it was more like uh more like a Jimmy Eat World kind of vibe to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, and
Cool.
then we did like a song like On West B, which Aaron kind of flows in it.
Yeah.
I used to be a young kid, a really young kid.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was him basically approaching it like, you know what, let's do it this way, and it turned out to be great. We played it. It was one of our live staples,
Yeah.
after that. So yeah,
Well,
it
cool.
was interesting. It would have been nice to see how that evolved, after that. But
Yeah.
didn't happen.
You a Promise Ring fan?
A little bit, some of it. I think Lou liked him a lot more.
Okay.
Maybe Aaron. Aaron's favorite bands at the time were number one, I would say, he really liked Red House Painters, but I think that what he
Mhm.
really was into was Built to Spill.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
huh.
Built to Spill was a huge band for him during that time. Lou is a huge Pearl Jam head. Like that's number one. That's not all he listened to, but I know that
Yeah.
that's always that the aesthetic, everything. I mean, still, like if you check his Instagram, like he's all Eddie Vedder and Pearl Jam, like that.
Yeah.
Number one. Brett. So Brett was a metalhead, and he listened to Tool a lot, a lot of Tool. He did like Smashing Pumpkins, and he listened to like
Yeah.
Infinite Sadness, I think a lot, in the van. So like the darker stuff, like Siamese was like, first two records, or first EP, and then after that it was like Infinite Sadness. But then he also got into like Good Riddance. It's like a punk band, Good Riddance.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
They're a pretty
and
poppy punk band, yeah.
yeah, and Static Prevails, and
Yeah.
oh man, what's that? The face. Oh my God, Face to Face, Face to Face. That was it. And Jeff listened to everything. Like everything. Like, Jeff was kind of like the real musician. I mean, everybody was a good musician, but Jeff, like his parents were professional musicians, and so Jeff's approach was like it still is. I think like he is a professional musician, so he listened to everything. I mean, as a drummer, he will listen to like Sting and listen to like Manu Katché, like playing drums um and whatnot. But yeah, that was kind of it. Sunny Day Real Estate All Around, of course, everybody
Yeah.
listened to that. um that was kind of our jams a little bit, and then whatever it's on the Facebook hashtag.
Well, cool. Do we want to talk about the end of Dear Ephesus?
I mean, I want to know because you guys put out that second album, and I think you even toured. Did you tour with Appleseed Cast a little bit?
Yes.
So you're
Yes,
touring
we
with
did.
bands that I feel like you match up better sonically, much better than like Insiders or something. It seemed like you guys were going places. Like, what happened?
That was the most successful tour money wise, financially. Like,
Mhm.
so yeah. All right. So the last, after the United tour, we recorded the second record, and then I think we did like maybe 2 short summer tours. Like we played with Log Soul, and we ended up borrowing their van and and touring. We played Tumfest Dallas after that, or Tech, whatever. I think it's Dallas,
Yeah.
or Texas,
Yeah, that's
whatever.
right.
We had also played the other one, but like after that summer, that's what we did. So we did like 2 short summer tours. We played like, was it a Furnace Fest that year or something? We rented a car and drove there. Um, so a little bit of touring there, and then we played at home. We opened for Don Caballero at locally
Wow.
here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. Except we sounded nothing like them.
Yeah.
I have that on video too, and I have a poster for it, which is really cool because I listened to Don Caballero. Excuse me. So but all right. So at this time, Brett and Lou had a band called Tenderfoot.
Right.
Which you guys missed, and I was surprised because
Yeah.
Tenderfoot is like the most important offshoot, of Dear Ephesus. Technically the Vanity Plan, which is the band that I'm in with Brett, although we're inactive right now, it's supposed to be like a reunited Tenderfoot, but then the direction changed, so we changed the name. But anyway, Tenderfoot was Lou and Brett's new band, which they were doing while we were in Dear Ephesus. So when we
Okay.
were which was cool. When we were not on tour, that they would do Tenderfoot. Like Brett was very, very prolific. Very, like he was writing all the time. Like that was his thing. He may have been competitive about it, but I don't know what, he just loved to write. At that point, he was just super inspired, and he was just, writing really good riffs. And then he got freaking Lou and Jeff to color his songs, and then there was another buddy of ours, Adam, who had a kick-ass guitar tone. So they put together this band that was a really good band. and you know, they have a record on Bulletproof called "The Devil in Rock and Roll," uh, which that's part of that's part of the story of the end of discussion of Marty and us, you know. So, but basically, excuse me. So, I think, well, I don't think, I'm pretty sure that Aaron had a big problem with Tenderfoot. Like Aaron,
Ah,
you know, and I used to think about this, and then I remember how Aaron was with Dear Ephesus. Remember, like, he was the guy making all the calls, making all the connections. Like, he was, you know, he was Dear Ephesus in a sense. I mean, he was definitely, in the contract, it was 51% of Dear Ephesus, and all of us were like, fine. We're like, sure, that's fine. Somebody's got to be 50. Somebody's got to be the you know, the boss. So okay,
yeah.
you got it. But basically, you know, that I think Aaron had a problem with that,
Hmm.
and I mean, Aaron had a problem with me having. I had this other band called Cletus. That was a joke. It was me and two friends of mine, and like we kind of sounded like Sebado meets, like, I don't know. It was like indie rock or whatever. But
Yeah.
the lyrics were like dumb. Like we had a song about Thomas Crapper, you know, the inventor of the flushable toilet or something. You know, like it was silly, honestly. Like, it was just, you know. And we actually opened for Dear Ephesus in the EP release party. So, but and then I had another band called Pistis, which was kind of math rock, and I was the drummer. And I remember that Aaron, one time we had a fight about something else, you know, a dispute, an argument on tour, and that came up, and I'm like, you're mad about that? I'm like, dude, it's just a joke. It's just, you know, we're all friends. That's all it is. And he you know, calmed down, and he was like, okay, you know. I'm like, you know, like, I thought it was so odd. So Aaron ended up. This is weird because Jeff wasn't Tenderfoot. Aaron talked to me and Jeff about kicking out Brett and Lou. Um, and he made his case, and I guess we agreed. And so we had a meeting, all five of us at Denny's, and it was weird because it was like too long, and most of it was great, and like almost like a renewed Dear Ephesus spirit kind of thing. And then at the end, oh, by the way, you know, it's not gonna work out with you two guys. And they're like, well, you're kicking us out. And so I have to own it. I was part of that, you know.
Yeah.
You know, so I, you know, we agreed. And Jeff kicked Lou and Brett out of the band, but wasn't Tenderfoot with them. So, but Jeff is still good. Nobody's gonna kick him out. You know what I mean? Jeff is awesome. Nobody's gonna kick him out. Then we got Dave Ott from Exeter Flood to join on guitar. And you know, Dave is great. Like, Dave and I started hanging out a little bit. He lived in Georgia, but he, you know, stayed in Orlando for a little bit. And we started writing. You know, we actually started writing new songs. We wrote at least, you know, 2 or 3 songs. And we reworked a couple of old Dear Ephesus classics. And that it was good. And then, you know, we tried a few bassists, and we ended up, you know, we like Dave and I wanted Travis from Exeter Flood, who then, you know, like after that he ended up moving to Orlando, and he had a band called My Hotel Year. Um,
Oh wow.
and then after that he had another band called Inkwell. And both My Hotel Year and Inkwell put out a few records, and they were you know, big Orlando bands. And Travis was also a very prolific writer. You know, he wrote a lot, and so that immediately, like when they joined, there was a little bit of a friction with, like, okay, who's writing, who's taking charge, kind of thing. But we toured with Appleseed. We went on that tour, and that was the best tour. Like, it was a really good tour. You know, I came home and I was able to buy my then girlfriend's, like, engagement ring. Oh,
wow.
yeah. I mean, it didn't make like a fortune, but we made
Yeah.
a lot more than we did, in the previous tour. And it was an easy tour. It was a band that we were kind of compatible with musically. And it was a lot of fun. I mean, really, it was a good tour. But I think at the end, I don't know. It was just the one tour. I think I, just kind of didn't feel the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't feel the same to me. I think I was thinking of settling down and getting married and having to get a
Mhm.
real job. Um, and so I did that. I quit.
Yeah.
So we played. The last show we played was in Jacksonville, Florida, at a like a pretty big venue that they have there, with a lot of Christian, or had Christian shows. And then I think we had another one in Georgia, but we didn't have a way to get there, and Aaron wanted me to drive, and I'm like, I don't want to drive my car. That's a lot of mileage. I don't want to put that mileage in my car. It's a little car. It was like a Ford Aspire. I looked like a giant inside that car. Like my head, I would drive by a building and I could see my reflection and like glass, and it looked like my head was like the size of the whole front. I didn't want to put the mileage on there, and so it didn't end that well. And it was weird because I heard you reading the thing, when Travis said, "Hey, we're gonna be going on tour with like Pop Unknown."
Mhm.
I had completely forgotten about that. So that was interesting that he took that spot to like, okay, and he really, I mean, honestly, they love the band. They really like Dear Ephesus. Um, so it could have been something, but Aaron called it quits after that. I
Okay.
think that Aaron may have had other maybe personal things going on, or
Yeah.
maybe I mean, maybe like losing all of us, there was no tether to that sound. It would have been a completely different sound.
Mhm.
Now I'm guessing really, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it after that, I don't know. We have obviously talked after that, and we had a couple of musical uh, uh, encounters after Dear Ephesus. But that was the end of the band officially.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense than because the way it comes off reading things online, it sounds like you left the band.
Well,
And
I did,
well, yeah,
but shortly, like it. Then after that, that was it. I think
yeah,
the last show the Dear Ephesus played was my last show with Dear Ephesus, and that
yeah,
was it.
yeah. But that makes a lot more sense why Aaron didn't continue on though, because he was, yeah, with the separation, and with kicking the guys out of the band, it makes you can see Aaron's side of it, where he wants someone. He's obviously committing everything to this band, right?
Hmm.
And so he wants someone else
He
to.
felt
He wants everyone
threatened
else
a
to.
little bit. They were
Yeah,
awesome, and so after that, I mean, Tenderfoot went on tour with Squad. They toured with
yeah,
Blindside, and Tenderfoot were a badass band. Like
yeah.
Brett's tone was so huge, and then Lou's tone was so huge, and they were just tight. They were like one of the tightest bands you
Hmm.
could hear. I mean, live they were impressive live. Brett was like doing like the James Hetfield kind of stance, kind of like arching a little bit. They were just a really good band. So yeah, I think I think Aaron, seeing that the split commitment, maybe, like
Hmm.
maybe he took that as, where you're not as dedicated or something like that. So
Yeah.
I do understand, but it was a bummer. I think that, I wish it would have worked. It happened.
Okay. What'd you do after that?
Well, I did get ordained. I did
Yeah.
get married and I did get ordained up on, and then eventually I had to renounce that. No, but I play with a lot of local people. I actually played a lot with Tenderfoot. Jeff ended up going on tour with Squad 50 for a while,
Hmm.
and in between drummers for them, and so I played with Tenderfoot a lot, like a lot of local gigs, Atlanta, like regional
Hmm.
gigs and whatnot. Um, I had a couple of other bands that I had and then quit, and like I usually do. And then I played with, recorded with people. So the main two things I did have a band called the Sweet Kisses, which, that was my band, so to speak. I wrote the songs, and then that was the fun thing. I think it's one of those things where we still kind of talk to each other a little bit, and so if we wanted to do a reunion, we've had many reunions, like we just reunite like every couple of years. And then there's the Vanity Plan. Which is Brett. And Brett, when he decided to end Tenderfoot, um, he moved away, and he got busy with life and whatnot. But then one day he came back to town, and he had new songs, and he got Jeff and his buddy Christian, who was the Vanity Plan's bass player, to like record with him. One of the songs is the one that made it to the soundtrack of Madden 10.
Oh,
So we have a
cool.
song on Madden 10. And so we got we did the Vanity Plan. It grew, and the cool thing about the Vanity Plan is five of us, and we're just friends from that time. From like Christian and Brad have been friends since high school, and it's like all the old youth group friends, and people that have played in different side bands with each other. So it's a really cool family friendship dynamic in the band, and it's metal, and it's fast, and it's a lot of fun. We're not active right now, but I think that
Yeah.
if Brett wanted to do it, he would say, and we would we would do it. That's the rest of it there. With Dear Ephesus though, so Aaron and I did get together and jam out some stuff. So that there's that little EP in the super lo-fi. We did it in like a couple hours. We went to a studio and we did it because we were gonna do an acoustic set at this festival called Uproar in Kissimmee, Florida. And so Aaron said, "Hey, why don't we rework some of these songs and put it together?" We're like, "All right, let's do it." And so we did. So we did those 4 songs. That's what it is. It's all mostly
Okay,
me
cool.
and him, or him and I, and then Lou played bass on 2 songs because he dropped by while we were doing it, and we're like, "Hey, play here," and then we did technically a Dear Ephesus reunion show, but it was just Aaron, Lou, and I. And then we got this guy Adam, who was in Tenderfoot, to play guitar, and our friend Ian to play drums, and it was all new songs. It was so Dear Ephesus did one show with all new songs, and that was the only time they were played live, and that was it. We wrote new songs, we played them one time, that was it.
What
That
year
was
was
the end
that?
of it. What's that?
What year was that?
um Early 2000s, maybe
Okay.
maybe between 1 and 3, maybe between 2001 2003,
Okay. Yeah.
somewhere around that area. And Aaron did a new band called the Fashion. It was called Fashion Dive. Um, it was a rock band,
Yeah.
and it was put together with him and this guy who was a guitar player for NSYNC. Yeah, Aaron's a networker, man. I'm telling you. So he did this band, and Brett was in it. Brett actually joined. It was kind of interesting. So they were kind of like they covered Pump It Up. They covered Pump It Up. So they had like 3 guitar players. Everyone in the band was really good. It was kind of pop, but also quirky. So
Yeah.
it had a cool. I don't know how to describe it. It had a cool sound. It was a good band, and Aaron was the front man. Immediately, everybody loved the band. Like everybody wanted to see the band. Like, oh, dude, Aaron's band. I saw them play at Wall Street. There was like a festival in Orlando downtown. They closed the streets, and they put different stages. And he played there on a big stage, and it was awesome. But he and I think that they were on the verge of doing something, of signing or something, and he walked away. He said, this is not what I do. He told me this. He said, you know what, Ed? you know me, I'm more of a singer-songwriter type. And I find myself on stage doing backflips. What the heck am I doing? You know, so he said
He's
that.
a great stage presence, though.
He does. He is a good front man, but he was kind of chill. He does appreciate, you know, he is kind of a singer-songwriter type guy. Anyway, that was it. And then he quit and he left. He moved away to like the Northeast. So he was in New Hampshire for a while. I think now he lives in Vermont or something like that. And he is doing film type work, production and whatnot. So I think he's, you know, happy over there with his family and whatnot. So that's kind of where we are.
Well, cool. And then in 2012, it seems like, was it you, I guess, who took the effort to get Dear Ephesus on all the digital platforms and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, I did it with Lou's encouragement. So I didn't want to be the guy, you know, but I am the guy. You know, so we've made a couple $100 since 2012.
Well, good for
I
you.
owe everybody $20 right now.
Take him out for beers.
Yeah, exactly. So, not if they see this, they're gonna be like, "Well, shit, Ed, come on." I just I don't know why. You know, nostalgia. I'm guessing a little bit of that.
Yeah.
You know, Bandcamp was a thing. So I'm like, all right. What the heck? I'll do it. I'll put it out there. People have been wanting the stream for a while, and I never really liked the whole stream thing. I mean, I'm really not making any money, but I don't care about that. But you know, also, you know, the whole licensing thing and whatnot. But you know, we did that late last year, so so it's out there, you know, and a lot of people look for it. It's kind of funny. I mean, like the Facebook page is like, you know, it's not very big, but we do get a lot of reactions and a lot of people, you know, most of the time they have something positive to say about the band, and it was cool, man. It was cool to having made that connection with someone was pretty cool. I do have to address one thing. You know, especially with Jay, I think you were the one like reading all that stuff with Marty. So here, let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you how it ended. All right.
Okay.
First of all, I promise you, I really don't remember exactly what I wrote, but obviously it has something to do with money and feeling ripped off and all that. All right. And some of that, you know, again, like when you're touring with bands, you know, that's what people talk about. Like, oh, dude, you guys are getting ripped off, man. You guys are getting ripped off. You know, you haven't seen any money for this, blah, blah, blah. And other bands were having the exact same experience with their label. So I don't know how they know what the normal was. I don't know. But they assumed that we were getting ripped off and everybody else, Squad 5-0, whatever. People talk, whatever. So, you know, so I posted what I posted, probably not thinking that Marty would even read it, but he did. And oh boy, he responded. Okay. I deserve that. I deserve that 100%. You know, I was the asshole that, you know, like that's me. I am, you know, immature asshole that put it out there. But I can say this. So after that, you know, and Marty said, you know, what about this? What about that? He met with us. This is after the band broke up, like that same year. He reached out and he said, look, I'm going to be in Orlando on business. Let's get together and I'll show you everything. And he did that. He came. The whole band was supposed to go, but I think only Aaron and I went. We met him at the same spot, Yab Yums, or I think it had changed names, but that place. And he pulled out the records and he said, "Look, this is the cost of this. This is the cost of this. This is what came in from, the Christian bookstores. Blah blah blah." He broke it down. So after that exchange, he actually, he was the mature adult in the relationship, and he basically, explained it. Whether it's accurate or not, I really don't know. But I left with no hard feelings. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I'll take it. It's fine. To me, like the ultimate experience was really just the getting in the van and driving places and waiting hours to play, and maybe the show got canceled. That's really what it was all about. It was a short time. If we would have been together for 10 years, then yeah, something would have had to have changed. But overall, like other than like listening to you guys talk about that, I was like, oh my gosh, forgot about, like, it brought the pain back. I'm like, oh man, that was a bad time, but that's not usually what I read, but it was all real. It's all true. It happened.
I think it's just a weird conglomeration of the fact that, everyone's been young and cranky before,
Yeah.
But also we have this brand new thing called the internet that
Right.
connects all these people, beyond
Secrets
scales
are
that
out
we
there.
can imagine,
Yeah. No, it's all good. And you know what? I, just like Dan's wife was saying, she kept talking about you guys' research, and I appreciate the deep dive. Like, you guys really dove deep into that. And, I don't know that I think my record or that thing I did, deserved that much attention and scrutiny and all that, but you guys gave it to us.
Well,
no,
so. I will say it does. It absolutely doesn't deserve that much scrutiny, but it's just this weird thing that we happen to have because it's, it's just.
We need something to talk about.
Yeah,
and
we were trying to figure out what happened to this band, and that was something. We were like, oh, okay, maybe this had to do with it. So,
well done. I got a friend of mine, Josh, who's in the Vanity Blend. He texted me and said, "Hey, check this out." And apparently, you guys had just put it out.
I know.
I didn't.
We were very surprised.
He found it like immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw it, I listened to it. I hit play. I sat on my kitchen counter and I listened to the whole thing. My wife sat down and heard it, and then we started talking about Marty, and she was like, we were looking at each other like, oh shit, I forgot about that. But that was awesome. And I told the guys, and I don't know if they heard it, but they're aware of it. Everybody reacted like, oh, I gotta check that out. So I haven't heard anything after. I don't know if they listened, but they know.
Okay. Well, let me ask kind of a final question as we're closing this out on Dear Ephesus. Any chance there'd ever be a Dear Ephesus reunion? Even just like a one-off show or anything?
Well, as you may have seen, there were talks about that. So there's been a couple. So I think like around 2010, 09, 10, we sort of kicked it around, and we were even thinking about recording an album. Like, we were oh, by the way, when Marty met with us, that's when, we had 2 records on the contract. I think we signed for 4, or like a 2+2 was the contract. And so he agreed to let Tenderfoot be the 3rd record. So the Tenderfoot record is in the part of the Dear Ephesus contract. So, which helps us fulfill some of that. But so we thought about recording a new album, and I even had some demos that I sent people, and so that was like, kicked it around for like a couple of weeks, and then it just kind of died down. And I think everybody's schedules always something comes up. We did talk about a reunion at least twice, and the last time was the closest one. I wanted to do something for like the 25th anniversary or something like that, or 20th anniversary, because this year is year 25 of Constellation. So okay, gotcha. I see where you're going. Well, so we tried to do one for 20, and even so, Brett had been one of the biggest hurdles, and for the 20th, he said, I'll do it. It was huge. Like, his wife took video of him like playing on West B, like he was like relearning it. He wrote that song. He was relearning it. So that was cool. And then, but Aaron couldn't do it. Aaron, he tried. He actually called me and we talked for, a good hour or so. And he didn't say that, but what he said at the time was, I have some work. I may even be moving. I'm not sure what's up, so, we were giving him a couple of months or something like that. It's fine. Didn't happen. I don't know. And I don't know if I'm going to approach it again. I feel like I've started it a few times. So I'm not going to be that guy. I'm just going to if somebody else really wants to make it happen, I'm going to let somebody else try to make it happen. I'm in if everybody's in. Maybe not. Well, COVID is still like so rampant.
Sure.
But I don't know. I don't foresee it. I don't. To be honest, like I'm not pessimistic about it. I'm just not. I don't know what's gonna happen that it's gonna make Aaron want to do it.
Yeah.
Especially with that comment that he made, like him kind of feeling more like a singer songwriter. Like I don't know if he sees himself. If he sees himself like back on stage doing that, like the spasms that he would like have on stage. I hope so. I would love it if it did. I know Lou would love to do it. I think Jeff would want to do it, and I think Brett even now would want to do it. But I don't know. I don't know about Aaron. He is busy though. I know that because we connected recently. We have the Dear Ephesus group chat going. So, but yeah.
Well, cool. Oh yeah, I was very entertained by your Facebook by
our exchanges.
Yeah, everyone using the Dear Ephesus
it's
account.
Just me and Lou. It's
just you and Lou.
Yeah.
Okay. But that was entertaining to read back and forth.
I'll post something and then he'll respond as Dear Ephesus. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, Ed. It's been great to have you on. Hopefully we haven't taken up too much of your time.
Well, you definitely did, but I was willing.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us so long.
No problem. This was fun, guys. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. All right, Jay, what are we listening to on the next episode?
We are going to change it up and listen to Slick Shoes' first EP, Slick Shoes.
Awesome. This will be our first foray into the Tooth and Nail pop punk catalog. So
yeah,
I don't know how we've gone a year and not done that so far, but yeah, it's interesting.
Yep.
Cool. I really like this. I think it's really energetic and to me at least it always sounded unique and fun. So we'll yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have not listened to it since 90. When did it come out? 6, 7, whenever it came out. So
yeah, right around there.
We'll see.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Your Music Saved Us.
If you enjoyed your time with us, please leave us a review or share this episode. Visit our website, yourmusicsavedus.com, to find all the ways to listen. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Join our Facebook group or follow us to keep up with the latest or interact with us. Send complaints and disagreements to yourmusicsavedus@gmail.com.